Tonight's episode of Legacy Battle is brought to you by Atlas Benefits.
Atlas Benefits has solutions for your insurance needs. Atlas Benefits can help you obtain Medicare, health, or life insurance and employee benefits. You can find them on the web at www.atlasbenefits.com.
Or you can contact Rob Ducey or Roy Smith at 727-600-2892 and mention Legacy Battle Podcast. Atlas Benefits has all the solutions for your insurance needs. Enjoy the show. This is Legacy Battle. Make sure you hit subscribe on whatever you're listening to this on right now. YouTube, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Safari, Apple, iTunes. We're on it all. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'm Michael Adams, creator of Legacy Battle. My panelists tonight from the Gridiron Battle Zone, Brian King. From the Sunshine State Sports Jabber, Bradley Walker. And Ball State athlete, Paul Havicott. Our special guest tonight is a 15-year NHL left winger, played with the Bruins, North Stars, Whalers, and most notably the Philadelphia Flyers. See that picture behind me? He was part of the greatest hockey team ever assembled, in my opinion at least, probably most people's opinion, that 1987 Canada Cup team. Just outstanding talent on that. He's a member of the NHL 1,000 Point Club, and he holds 6 NHL records and even more Philadelphia Flyers records, like tons of them. So 5-time NHL All-Star Brian Propp. Brian, thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah, guffaw! How's everyone doing?
Good. How are you?
So that's one of my questions I was going to ask him.
So tonight's debate is going to be the top 5 offensive Philadelphia Flyers players. We're going to keep it to the forwards tonight, and we're going to jump right into this. Afterwards, we'll have some questions for Brian about his career. And we're going to start with Eric Lindros.
Okay, Eric Lindros, part of the Legion of Doom. He's born 2/28/73 and was drafted first round by Quebec. Eric ended up playing 760 games in the NHL with a career spanning from 92 to 07, mostly for Philly from 92 to 2000. He scored 372 goals with 493 assists for 865 total points, 46 game-winning goals, just under 1,400 penalty minutes for his career. Eric was a 6-time All-Star. For 4 seasons, he was in the top 10 scoring for goals. And in 2016, Eric was inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame. In 2017, he was named one of the 100 greatest NHL players in history. Jersey number 88 was retired by the Flyers in 2018. He's got some records: 4th fastest player in the NHL history to score 300 points, 4th fastest player in NHL history to score 400 points, 5th fastest for 500, 6th for 600. I think Eric, being part of one of the greatest lines ever and being just all the hype surrounding him, I know his career, he suffered a lot of injuries and concussions, but I think he's definitely a member of an all-time greatest Flyers team.
So Paul mentioned the concussions and gave us some really good stats there for Lindros, and we're only concerning ourselves with Flyers stats tonight, as this is the Flyers' greatest show. So Brian, let me ask you, he is a Hall of Famer. I believe he belongs in there. The concussions definitely slowed his production down. If he doesn't have those issues, is he maybe mentioned in those all-time greats, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think so, because he was such a powerful player. Like he was like 6'5" and about 240 pounds and all muscle. And he could hit people. He could control the game. But, you know, he also played with LeClaire and with Ronberg. So it was what a line that was, because it was really tough for them to stop them because they're all big and strong. And then I think when Eric got started with the Flyers, Like he hit the ball, hit a lot of times, and he kind of set the pace for letting people know in Philadelphia that they're not afraid of him. But he was, he's tough to play against. I mean, I played against him when I was in Hartford, and all I had to do was I had to just slow him down a little bit, because he like hit like a truck, and he skate hard, and he was pretty amazing.
I believe, and Brian BK, we're going to call him Brian King BK tonight. Sorry about that. BK, real quick. I mean, we talked about the Legion of Doom show on our Lines of the 90s with Kevin Stevens. I mean, just a quick thought on that line and whole.
Well, I mean, what jumps out at me was just the physicality. I mean, just the size. I mean, with Lindros, you're talking about like a power forward type. Just, he's just gonna go in there and he's gonna run you over. And that, that was just so hard to stop, especially during that time period when guys weren't quite as big as they are now, So
let's move on next to another line that Lindros was part of, the Crazy Eight lines. That's going to be the Wrecking Ball, Mark Recchi.
Mark Recchi played in nearly 1,700 games, had 956 points, 32 game-winning goals, had 200 power play points. Went into the Hall of Fame in 2017, was always a top 6 forward, part of the 2004 Eastern Conference Final team that lost to the Lightning in the Eastern Conference Finals, but took them to 7 games to do that. And Recchi played with most of his career with the Flyers, but he also played with the crosstown rival Pittsburgh Penguins. I'm sure that didn't rub the Flyers fans too well when you're playing with the rival team from Pittsburgh, but great career. Again, he's a Hall of Famer, so great career for him.
So the Crazy Eight line, Brian, it was right before the Legion of Doom. They traded Recchi out, which brought in LeClaire. I mean, could you maybe compare those two lines just a little bit, like the difference in styles for us?
Yeah, so like with LeClaire on the line, like he was a scorer. Like he scored 50 times, four straight times, and then Recchi was a great player. Like I admire him. I kind of modeled my career from him because he was consistent. He could play forward and back and check and take care of other people, but his passing was great. He could score goals too. So that's what you need. When it comes down to the playoffs, you need a player that can play all around, all times that you can. But most of all, I think it's really important to know when the playoffs are in, you have to score and be a leader with that, and not just be an assist man. There's lots of people that have assists, but it's really difficult to score in the playoffs. But I think he has a record for the Flyers in paints, like 123 or something like that. But I really admire him because I kind of modeled my career from him, of just being consistent, working hard, and all the things that he did that really made him admire him.
So let's move on to another player who played with Lindros, and that was John LeClaire. I got LeClaire tonight, so he also was part of the crosstown rivals Pittsburgh Penguins there at the end of his career, but he is definitely most noted for his time with Philadelphia. He's been on this show, so check it out in the archives, John LeClaire. Member of the Legion of Doom, 10 seasons with the Flyers. So as a Flyer, and this is only as a Flyer, he's a 5-time All-Star, first team All-NHL 2 times, and second team All-NHL 3 times. 2-time plus-minus award winner. So, I mean, a lot of people, you think LeClaire, you think offense, but he led the league in plus-minus 2 times. So that's a very impressive stat. That's something that comes up on the show in a lot of our hockey debates. So he's a 2-time Bobby Clark Trophy award winner, and Pele Lindbergh Memorial Trophy he's won as well once. So he's got the Flyers hardware as well. 5th in Flyers history in goals with 333. So I'm trying to get him on top 5 tonight. He's 5th in goals. He's 4th highest in the plus minus with the players we're discussing tonight. And he's 4th in power play goals and number 1 in Flyers history with 61 game winners. That is 6 above our special guest tonight, Brian Propp. So kudos to that, picking up the number 1 spot on that for Leclerc. 3 straight 50-goal seasons. And that's no easy task when he was doing that in the mid-90s, where the Devils and the Panthers and the Sabres and the Trap was just taking over the NHL. So that's an impressive number in that time period. He helped lead them to that 96-97 Stanley Cup Finals against Detroit. This was a guy who's a great player, crashed the net, had to fight for every goal that he got. I love the way that he played the game, like straight up power forward. Symbolizes really, in my opinion, what it means to be a Flyer if we're going all the way back to like the 70s, Broad Street Bullies and all that stuff. So he really fit that category as part of that Legion of Doom line. So with Brian, with Lindros or with Leclerc, he's the only player from that Legion of Doom to really stick around for a really long period of time. Renberg got shipped out to Tampa Bay. And of course, Lindros had the injuries and he moved on. So what are your thoughts on Leclerc? I mean, is he maybe the best sniper we're talking about tonight?
Well, he was one of the best because he played with Lindros and Runberg. Like each of them were like between 220 and 230 pounds, but they were physical. And how can you stop them? And you have a player maker like Lindros that sets up in front of the net. That he got lots of rebounds and he's in front of the net, but he had a hard shot, which was, he's hard to stop with that. And I think, when you play with a player like that, he scored 50 goals. That's pretty good, but it made a difference having a Lindros playing with him. But he was consistent too, hard to play against. It wasn't as good defensively, but he didn't have to be because they were always in their own end. And then, like as you said, like with the power play goals, that's where you score because you get in front of the net, and that's how you make your living, just by being in front of the net. Like Tim Kerr was unbelievable on the power play too. And but I think that Leclerc is such a good guy too. I see him all the time. I've done a couple of celebrity hockey events with him. He's just really good with the people. He knows why they're there, for the charities, and he gives back and he responds really fast. A lot of these people don't have to respond all that time, but he's always quick to answer me every time I text him. And, I'm looking forward to seeing them both on November 15th at our Hall of Fame hockey event at the Wells Fargo Center in a couple of weeks.
Well, you mentioned Tim Kerr, so let's move on to Tim Kerr.
All right. Well, I'm gonna see your Leclerc and raise you Tim Kerr, because I think he is the best sniper that we're talking about tonight. He spent 11 seasons with the Flyers at the right wing from 1980 to 1991. Kerr was a kind of a quiet, stoic guy. He didn't celebrate the goals much. He just went about his business, as one of the best power play snipers that really the game's ever seen. He was 6'3", 225 pounds. He seemed like an immovable object once he set up in the slot. There's multiple guys have said that, Brian Trottier being one of them. Once he was there, he did great things. I mean, he led the NHL with 21 power play goals in 84-85, 26 power play goals in 86-87, and in 85-86, he scored 34 power play goals, which is still a single season NHL record. Over his career with Philly, he made 5 All-Star teams. He won the Masterson Award, and he owns over 20 Flyers franchise records. He's also still top 10 in NHL history for average goals per game. Kerr was able to achieve all of this really despite dealing with just a slew of injuries. I mean, he had and personal tragedies, which cost him a lot of time. So he had knee issues. He had a broken leg at one point. He had a meningitis. He had several operations on his shoulder. And sadly, his wife died suddenly after giving birth at one point during his career. So Tim Kerr's kind of a what might have been, but he's also, I think he did enough to make it into the top 5 tonight.
Most 50-goal seasons as a Flyer. Very impressive. He did play in the wide open 80s for a large chunk of that, so that definitely helps out. Brian, I know you played with Tim for many years. What are your thoughts on him? I mean, he seems to be like the guy that I'm looking at the list we're going tonight. He seems to be like the name that flies under the radar. And it's kind of weird.
Yeah, I think in the '80s, like we played so well and as a team, and had Mark Howe and Brad McCrimmon that were two of the best in plus one, plus and plus minus every year. And but I was a consistent player too. But he helped set him up but the thing about Tim is that he was a great scorer. Like a lot of people don't know, like he was in front of the net, but he picked the places, the times that he could move around in the slot, and he got the shot away really fast. He was very accurate with it. He had scored a lot of goals in the 5-hole, and because he had a really fast shot. And I think that the difference between LeClaire and Tim Kerr was that LeClaire was more in front of the net most of the time. Tim moved around here and there, and that's why they both scored 50 a year. And but we had good players. Like I got lots of assists, and he beat me to a lot of rebounds because he was so fast in front of the net. Otherwise, I could have maybe scored more too. But I love what he's done for the community because he does some charity work in Avalon in New Jersey, and he does his two sons work in real estate in Avalon and Stone Harbor. I know his two boys, and it's just but he was just like you said, he was quiet. Like I know that's why I started the Guffaw, because he was so quiet and he scored all the time, but I wanted to do something that was a little more exciting, and so I started when I did the Guffaw in the center ice from Howie Mandel, then it was a little more exciting. But yeah, like he would just shrug it away and just go, just expect it. But what a great player and a great teammate who he was.
We're going to go old school on our next two players, all the way back when the Flyers won the Stanley Cup. And we're going to start with Bill Barber.
Yeah, you stole my thunder a little bit by mentioning that. Speaking of under the radar, we're going Bill Barber here. Old school, born 7/11/52. We're talking about now hockey in the 70s. He's drafted 7th overall in the first round, 1972 by Philly. And he's got something here that some of the other players don't have. Number one, he played his whole career with Philly, 72 to 84. And number two, he's part of 2 championship teams by Philly. He ended up playing 903 games, 72 to 84, like I mentioned, scored 420 goals with 463 assists for 883 total points. Low penalty minutes, 623 for his career, 6 All-Star game appearances. Championships were 1974 and 1975, so we got back-to-backs. And he had 3,246 shots on goal, with 54 of them being game winners. Bill's also got some extra clout with the Flyers. He's a 1990 Hockey Hall of Fame inductee and actually went on to coach the Flyers from 2000 to 2002. So if you're talking about people that are part of a championship team and good numbers, you might have to go old school here with Bill Barber.
So spending a whole career with one team, we do not see that very often in any sport today. It's really sad, in my opinion. Brian, Bill Barber, long career at Philly, and as Paul said, even coached with him. I mean, what does he mean to that franchise, and what does it mean to a player to be able to spend his entire career with one team?
Well, it means a lot because especially in the 70s and 80s, where you played a lot longer with the other teams, you didn't make that much money, but that's why we played with so many teams and those many years with the same guys. But he got hurt at the end of his career. Otherwise, he could have been way up there with the numbers. But again, it was like having a guy like a Bob Clark setting up Bill Barber and Reggie Leach. Having those two good scorers like Bob Clark, he was an assist guy. he didn't really have to score as much, but Bill Barber and Reggie Leach, like, were two unbelievable players with Bob Clark. But he helped set up with all the things. But Bill had a really heavy shot, and he knew where to shoot it. And he was in front of the net, and he had a good shot. And he played defense. He played penalty kill, shorthanded. He played all positions, and he was really good with that. Like, that's why when I got started in '79 with the Flyers, you know, I was a really quiet person. I didn't say much, and I just listened and tried to do what they did. And so thankfully for me, you know, to be with the Flyers for 11 years too, it was good for me because I learned from them at the start, and but I was always a hard worker, like, and they all were. But they practiced as much as hard as they played the game. So that's a little different now. You see people that just take times off here and there, but there you practice and play the same way. But Bill was a great guy. He was so good with the fans too, and he know how to give back, you know. And so that's why in Philadelphia we have such a strong alumni with the teams that have been over the years. And I think that the Winter Classic in 2010 or 11 was really special for the people that played outside against the Rangers, because there was 5 generations of players, and just like there will be on November 15th coming out at the Wells Fargo Center. But you know, he knew how to step it up when in the playoffs too, because you know, they won a couple Stanley Cups. It was tough, but you know, they had Bernie Propp, but they beat Buffalo and then Boston, and so that was really tough. And in those years, there were a lot less teams, so you got to know all the other people. I think that the record that the Flyers have is that when they won the Stanley Cup, all players were Canadian based instead of that's not, it won't happen anymore. But
I'll never see that again.
Yeah, definitely not. Well, you mentioned Bobby Clark. If Bobby Clark doesn't make our top 5 list tonight, this podcast is going to get canceled. Trust me. Let's move on to Bobby Clark.
Bobby Clark, part of the Broad Street Bullies. Obviously, Brian knows about that. Again, just like the last player, played his whole career with Philadelphia. Like you guys said, not something that happens very often anymore. The guy only had 494 goals, 258 assists, 852 points. He won the Hart Trophy 3 times, and 2 years in a row he won it at 72, 73, 74, 75, 75, 76. And by the way, he was part of 2 Stanley Cups, back-to-back Stanley Cups for the Flyers. Also, too, he also serves as general manager from 85 to 87. No, they went to the Stanley Cup Finals as he was the general manager from 85 to 87. Unfortunately, he was let go during the 89 season when the Flyers hit a snag. But, yeah, like Mike just said, I don't know why Bobby Clark would not be part of it. Basically, the heart of Philadelphia for a long time. I can't see him not making the top 5.
Brian, is it Bobby Clark and then everyone else?
yeah, well, because he was there for 15 years, and you know, I played with him for 5 years at the end of my career, and but he did everything so well. Like, but the thing about him was that he was a true leader. Like, he knew how to help people to get the best out of themselves, you know. But it helped playing with Reggie Leach and Bill Barber as a line, which was pretty amazing for a lot of years, and you had Bernie Propp. But you know, he was the heart of the team, and the things that he did outside of hockey as a leader made a big difference, you know, because a lot of people that don't know all the things that he's done over his careers to be a true leader. And I think that, you know, when I was young, I listened to what he did, and I talked with him, and I learned a lot, because when I was young, I didn't say much at all, and it took me a couple of years, and then when kind of Bob left, and then with Dave Poulin and myself and Tim Kerr, we became leaders, and so you really learn how to be a better leader and a good player, just from all the things that they teach. But he was, the thing about him was that he could take the puck away from the defenseman and just pass it away like really fast. He was really good with, you know, up close, and he knew how to take the puck away from them and then set it up there. Sort of like you know, Gretzky in the back of the net. He knew where everybody was, and that's the same thing what Bob Clarke did. He knew exactly where the guys were, because they played together so much, but so that he knew that it was a left-handed shot or a right-handed shot. He knew exactly where to put the puck, and that really made a difference. But you know, he was the heart and you know, and of the team, and like Ed Snyder loved him. You know, I know that he left after 1990 when I got traded, and he traded me to Boston, and then he took me to Minnesota for 3 years. So I love him for that too, because that gave me a chance to play a little bit longer too.
So we're going to move on to our only player who's still playing in the league tonight, and that's Claude Giroux. So nicknamed G. So I'm just going to call him G from here on out. I like that. Captain since 2012. So that is 10 years. That makes him the Flyers' longest reigning uninterrupted captain. I think he needs somewhere around another 120 games just to be like the overall leader. So 13 seasons with the Flyers to date, which is his whole career so far. 6-time All-Star. And he made the NHL second NHL team, so he's got that on his record. He's won the Bobby Clarke Award 5 times. And the Gene Hart Memorial Award once. So he's got the Flyers hardware as well, just like LeClaire earlier. He was on the cover of NHL 2013 EA Sports, man. You make those covers, that says something. As a Flyer, he is second all-time in games played. And by the time this show airs, he's going to be second in points. He's already second in assists all-time as a Flyer. So he's a very respected player around the league. Was never afraid of taking it to you. I mean, he certainly would get in the face of Sidney Crosby. There was a lot of battles, Penguins Flyers there for a while, and you know, Claude was stepping up and you know, starting those wars that would go on between Penguins Flyers. You know, Philly fans, I've always thought that they're a little hard on him. You know, Brian might have a different take on that than what I do. I just feel like he gets more respect outside of Philly than what they give it to him in Philly. And that might be, I mean, his playoff record is, you know, his captain is 1-4. I know that doesn't help his cause with, you know, Philadelphia fans in general. Philly fans are always a little tougher on players. But Brian, I mean, Claude, there's some rumors out there right now that I've been hearing, you know, mostly coming out of Canada. Everything comes out of Canada nowadays for the rumor mill, that maybe he might be getting moved to Ottawa. I mean, have you heard anything about that? And what are your thoughts on him as a player?
Well, you know, I'm still the ambassador for the Flyers. The last 4 years, when we still had hockey, I was an ambassador. And then this year, I'm with Dave Schultz every home game. So I've been to a lot of the games, and I, you know, kind of see what's going on. But it's been really tough because, you know, if you're not consistent with making the playoffs as much as you're expected to, and there's lots of excuses for it too, but you know, like you know, you have to be the leader of the team, and then you have to figure out a way to kind of make sure that, hey, listen, we need to do something a little better. So I think that the only thing that I'd have to say about him is that he hasn't scored as much as he should. You know, he's off to a good start this year, but you know, he's not consistent. Like, he doesn't score for, you know, 10, 15 games, and you have to be a little more consistent with that. He still gets lots of assists because he's on the power play, where he gets a lot of points on the power play. But when it comes down to the playoffs, it just I think the people in Philadelphia know that, hey, listen, they're upset if they don't make the playoffs, and as you know now, with the Flyers this coming year, like, they have a good chance. They improved their whole team, and it's all about a team effort, and everyone has a chance when you get into the playoffs, because you see the last 3 or 4 years, except for Tampa, and because of the different schedules that happened last couple of years, you get into playoffs and everybody has a chance to win. So I'm looking forward to this year, because I know they're on the West Coast this next trip, and then so we'll see how they go there. But they have a good goalie, Hart, and we've got a good group of guys, young players, and a new defense, and so I'm really excited for the team. And I think for Cloud, he's been here his whole career, and he's been a good leader, and I really admire him for that.
So let's move on to our final player tonight. It's Brian Propp.
All right, some guy named Brian Propp. All right, so 11 seasons with Philly, from 1979 to 1990, left winger. Propp, he got after it right away in his rookie season by setting the single season rookie record for all left wingers with 75 points. And over the decade of the 1980s, you would be hard pressed to find a better left winger than Brian Propp. For the decade, he led NHL left wingers in 10 categories, including assists, plus minus, game-winning goals, playoff goals. And he was ranked second in another 12 categories, including goals, points, shorthanded goals, and playoff plus minus. For the Flyers franchise, he also owned several records as well. He came through in a big way in the clutch with a record 12 game-winning goals in the 82-83 season, which was the highest total league-wide. He made all-star teams 8 times in a 9-year span. And then from the 79-80 season to the 88-89 season, he averaged 36 goals, 47 assists, 82 points, 10 power play goals, 2 shorties, and 6 game winners. I mean, if you can get that out of a guy every season, yeah, you're in good shape. Brian Propp's arguably the best, one of the best left wingers of his era, and is really one of the better ones of all time. I don't really understand why he's not in the Hall of Fame yet. I certainly think that he should get another look, and I certainly think he should be in tonight's top 5 as well.
So, Brian, I'm never quite sure to ask people about themselves when we have them on the show and they're actually represented in the show. But I mean, basically, what did it mean to you to play for the Flyers organization? I mean, clearly, it's you've been on a few teams, but this is your team. I mean, this is what you're known for.
Yeah, well, when we first got started, it was there's only one league. It moved it from the World Hockey Association to the NHL. So there's only one league, the NHL, and so there wasn't not too much bargaining that you could do at that. You took what you had. But I had a strong junior career where we didn't lose that many. Like, I had good players like Brad McCrimmon and Ray Allison that I've known for a few years. And then of course getting drafted by the Flyers with Bobby Clarke and Reggie Leach and Bill Barber and Rick McLeish and all those good players, to lead by example. But I was always a hard worker, and I worked as hard as Bob Clarke. And I was a little better skater than Clarke, but he doesn't like that. But but other than that, we had 35 undefeated streak at the first of our career. Like, the first game, I scored the game winner I played with Bob Clarke and Reggie Leach, and played against Bill Smith and scored the game winner my first game. So that was a good start. And then we lost 9-2 in Atlanta. And I was like, oh my God, is this what the NHL is going to be like? And then we went on, and 35 and undefeated streak. But Matt Quinn was the coach. and we had good leaders. We had good teams. It's sort of like the Flyers have 4 solid teams now. Everyone knows their role. We had tough players, and then Pete Peters was a rookie that year too. And then Phil Muir was there. So like we just, Bernie Propp got hurt a year before. So like they were looking for a goalie, but Pete Peters was an answer too. But to get a good start like that with playing with good players and not have to talk with the media too much. I was young and I didn't know much better. I just went out and had fun, played hockey and took advantage of it. And then we went to the finals my first year, and unfortunately we lost in game 6 in overtime. Otherwise it might be different. We go back to game 7, we probably win in Philadelphia. But who knows? But it was good just to get started there. And then for 11 years, I was really consistent. I was in the playoffs, my first 13 consistent playoff at the start. And then, but you learn from that, and then you play with good players like Mark Howe and Brad McCrimmon and Tocchet and Kerr and Poulin and you name it. We fit in. We had a nice mixture of young guys and older, better players. So, but it's all about being consistent. And I know that. A lot of people will say that, hey, listen, I'm not in the Hall of Fame, but I think I was a really quiet player. Like the Flyers didn't promote us too much at that time, and because you just played for the team and they didn't care about points, but as long as you kept winning. And so I know that my first year it was a good year for me, and then the second and third year after we lost in the first round against the Rangers. So I learned at that time, hey, listen, I had to be much better when it came down to the playoffs, because that's what it's all about. You get into the playoffs and then you have to start performing. And, so I was really consistent from that time on, especially for the Flyers and the 80s. I was probably underrated because I was quiet and didn't say much, but the awards don't matter to me. It's just me playing with the right people that I love, and the coaches, and Keenan was there, and and a lot of these guys that I know are going to be on the next the 15th of November. There'll be about 50 of those guys there too. I have everybody's information, and I talk with them all the time. But it's all about playing with a team that you otherwise I'm not going to be as good as I am. Like Ken Linsman and Paul Holmgren were my line mates too. So without having Paul Holmgren as a tough guy and Rat, I mean, he was a fast player, but it set up. But so it all works where you work together to try to get to the Stanley Cup Finals. And of course, the Islanders won 4 in a row, and then Edmonton 4 in a row. Those years it was really tough because you had less teams, but we were there every time. And I think the people admire that because I know Tim Kerr was hurt a couple of those years, and then Brad McCrimmon was hurt a couple of years. You had to do your best teams, your best players on the team that are hurt. Other that one goal makes a difference. And so for us, the Edmonton players were scared of us, but they had such a powerful team in the 80s. Like there's what are there, 6 or 7 in the Hall of Fame in their prime. And so I think people here in Philadelphia admire what we've done over the years. And then, then after I finished with the Flyers, I went 5 years with some other teams. And then I did the radio for 9 years for the Flyers. And then I'm the ambassador for them last 4 or 5 years. And I'm on the Flyers alumni board. And, I keep giving back. I've got lots of charity hockey events that we set up and then do, but it's all about doing the best thing you can for your team. And thankfully for me, I had great players, helping me, just to get the stats and, but I love being, for me, the plus minus in my career, I think that over a year, I can think I'm the top 10 in the NHL for plus minus for forwards.
I love the plus minus stat. I mean, to me, that just really tells what kind of player you're dealing with. But so before we go to our quick shout outs of players that just missed the list tonight, if you're a Hall of Fame voter and you're watching this, put Brian Propp in. Also put in some other guys in that have been on this show, like Bernie Nichols and Andre Lacroix. These guys belong in the Hall of Fame. Put them in the Hall of Fame. So our shout outs tonight, the guys that just missed the list, the two Ricks, Rick McLeish, Rick Tockett, Rod Brindamore, and Simone Gagne. So all really great flyers. So let's move into our vote. Brian, remember guys, you can't pick your own. Brian King, sorry, BK, who are you taking tonight?
I think I'm going to go with Lindros. I mean, when he got going, he was just basically unstoppable. So I'm going to go with him.
Okay. Paul?
Okay. I like the old school guys, so I can't pick my own. So I'm going to go Bobby Clark. He's got to be on there.
Brad?
John LeClair.
John LeClair. So I just want to say, like, we have done, I can't remember how many top 5 shows we've done for different teams. I've never seen like a list as close as this with like all 8 players. Even if you just look at like the points that each of them had, they're all right there, like right next to each other. It's just an insanely hard list compared to some other shows that we've done. But I mean, I'm taking Brian Propp because I believe when I look at the list, he should be in the Hall of Fame. So I'm throwing him on there. Brian, you got a choice of the Mark Recchi, Claude Giroux, Tim Kerr, and Bill Barber. You got the hard part.
Well, it's going to be between Tim Kerr and Recchi because, like, I only played with Ricky. I didn't play against him, just against him. But I'm going to give Tim Kerr because he was, if he didn't get hurt, we'd probably both be getting more points, and we could have had more chances to win a couple Stanley Cup.
So there you got it. Our top 5 tonight for the Philadelphia Flyers offensive players: Eric Lindros, Brian Propp, John LeClair, Tim Kerr, and Bobby Clark. Nice job, guys. Let's move into our Q&A. And it looks like Brian King, you got the win tonight with 2 on the list. So you got first question.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, you had not 1 but 2 hat tricks versus the Calgary Flames goaltender. So was there something specific that you saw from Reagan that you chose to exploit, or was it just coincidental, or just got hot against Calgary? I mean, what was the story there? How did this happen? Well,
my family grew up in Saskatchewan in Canada. So, of course, for me, living in Philadelphia and not seeing them too many times, like every Christmas we had a trip across, and then so like I always loved playing in Canada because my family was there, so that might have given me a little extra umph to try to score against the Calgary. But that's the playoffs too. But but it just it makes it more special for me to have, because I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters. We're all 13 months apart, and my parents. So I think that every time that I to try a little harder for my family.
Brad, go ahead.
Brian, I have an off-the-wall question. You played for the Hartford Whalers towards the end of your career. What was it like wearing what I think might be one of the coolest hockey jerseys, that bright green in Hartford? What was it like wearing that jersey?
Well, plus they had the sand. Every time you scored, I think the brass banana, and so like everyone kind of knew the sign. But yeah, for me it was a good way to end my career, because that year it was Chris Pronger was a rookie, and then Brad McCrimmon took him under the wing, and so like as you get older, you kind of help the younger players, and you figure out a way how to do them. But I love the logo. I still have my jersey from the Whalers, and plus I do a couple alumni events from them in the summer. They have an alumni thing at the baseball in the summer, and I've been to Hartford a couple other times to get back and do a couple appearances from them too. But I loved Hartford.
Paul.
Brian, when I was researching you, I saw a couple mentions of a statement that said that you never really played the same after the Chelios hit. I don't agree with that. I know you went on to the Hartford Whalers. You got your 1,000th point, played in your 1,000th game. I wanted to go to the source on that. Do you agree with that statement? Do you think that's fair, or do you think that that's unfair?
No, that's not fair. I mean, because it was 89, and I had lots and lots of time left, and plus, like, you know, I know that how Chelios hit me, he really dirty, and I could have died from that, but I only missed one game. And then Hextall kind of was upset and then kind of went at Chelios a little bit more. But you know, I've known him ever since then. But you know, like I know that at the start it was difficult after in the playoffs because I had a couple months to heal because your brain doesn't heal, and so like I know that I was making a comfort to make sure that if I played again, that I would never be afraid. You know, I have to put that in my mind that I was still the better player. And so you know, I still had a year with the Flyers, and I was at Boston, and then with Minnesota I had good years in Minnesota, and then finished with Hartford. But yeah, that's not a fair statement for me.
So I want to take you to the 90-91 Minnesota North Stars. And that team, you guys finish 12 games under 500. You just barely make the playoffs. You take out the #1 seed. You knock out the defending champion Edmonton Oilers. You get all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals. I mean, you ran into what ended up being a juggernaut in the Pittsburgh Penguins there. But, I mean, tell us about that team. Like, how did you guys just, like, come together to be that far under 500 and not a prayer to being in the Stanley Cup Finals?
Well, it took a little time, but it's just sort of like what's happened now. Like if you get in the playoffs, everyone has a chance. But we had a really good team. Mike Madonna and Dave Gagne were there. Brian Bellers, Neil Broughton, and Tenari, and then Casey was a goalie, and then we had Bob Gailey was the coach, and so we knew that we had a chance, and but we had tough guys, and then when it comes down to the playoffs, I know that we were against Chicago, and so they they were real cocky because they were #1 in the year. But I think, you know, I still remember like the first game in Chicago, I scored a power play goal in overtime, and that really gave us a chance to say, hey, we can beat these guys. And then we had a great power play. Like look at the Islanders, like in the 80s, they had good power play. So in that year I think we scored like almost 220 power play goals, you know, that year. And so then Chicago was not disciplined so much, so that's how it helped us win, because we scored a lot of power play goals. And then we went to St. Louis. They were the second best, but I think that we had Hall was the scorer, but what we did is we kind of checked Hall with Gautain, and then the Oilers were tough because they had the experience, and then we beat them. And then of course Pitzner, you know, with Lemieux kind of stacking it up the last couple of games, it made a big difference to you, because at that time, like after the Canada Cup, he kind of learned how to win from the guys that we played with in '87, and so but you know, they had a good team too, and the good goalie and Yager and Tocchet, you know, you name it. So like we gave them a good run. But you know, I'm still proud of you know, just getting there.
Brian, go ahead.
Okay. On March 22nd, 1994, as a member of the Hartford Whalers, Paul alluded to this earlier, you scored your 1,000th point. So what was it like for you to join this elite, you know, list of players to accomplish this in NHL history?
Well, it was really kind of special for me because I know I was getting at the end of my career, and I wanted to get 1,000 points, and so I was sitting up at 999. But I played in Philadelphia, had a bunch of people that I knew, so I scored first goal to make it 999, and then I scored another goal to get 1,000 points, which is nice because I know that Rick Middleton missed the 1,000 points, but it doesn't really make that a difference. It's just how good you are. But it's kind of nice to have it on your resume that you scored 1,000 point and almost a point a game. But I'm still I love in Philadelphia because they kind of got lost for the playoffs and didn't help them, but. It was just special for me to score 2 goals in Philadelphia against the Lindros and his group.
Paul, you got last question tonight.
Okay, yeah, I wanted it. You opened the show with it, the guffaw. So I know it came from Howie Mandel. I did my research on it. So my question is this: we don't see a lot of personality celebration like that. Is there somebody out there that has a celebration that you kind of admire because you had the guffaw? And can you tell us a little bit about the guffaw? Why'd you incorporate that into your celebration?
Well, it was as we talked about before, like Tim Kerr, he scored all the time, but he just so what, and I was like, I wanted a little more excitement, and so I copied Howie Mandel. He went to his shows in the early '80s at Atlantic City. And so I went to a couple of shows and with my friends, Scott McKay and a couple other people that I knew. And so wanted to do something a little different. So, but guffaw means a hearty laughter. And so, I took it. And then so mid '80s, I decided I want something different. When I score a goal, I'm going to go to center ice and do guffaw. And so Keenan was a coach. And so he said, "What are you doing? Don't ever do that again." And I was like, "Oh, geez." And I said, "Well, I didn't listen to him because I just scored again, and then I took it off, and then it was good from there." And that's why, because even now, I have trademarked it. Now I have my own Guffaw Cigars brand from the Dominican Republic, and so But I talked with Howie a little bit too because a year ago, he was in Atlantic City, and so I got a chance to talk with him at the show. But in the '80s, in the '90s, I met him a bunch with the people that we were at from the Flyers team, and had a chance to talk with him too. But I keep in touch with him too.
And where can people find those cigars? You want to get the website out?
Yeah. So if you want to, everything's online. But if you want to go to guffawcigars.com. There's nice I have 5 packs for $60, and I've got my limited edition boxes of 10 and boxes of 24 and bundles of 25. It's really reasonable, and but if anybody wants to, makes a great gift to the cigars, a 56 by 6 inch. And the limited edition one that I started with, my 425 boxes are limited edition, and they're 5 inch, but they're really quality. I didn't want something cheap. There's a mild, a medium, and a Medora to try from. And so the mild has a Connecticut wrapper, and then the medium has one of the best wrappers in the world, and a Medora is a Maduro, but it's not too strong. So I really have been enjoying them.
Well, thank you, Brian, for joining us tonight. Having the Flyers on, love it. If you're a big Flyers fan, you enjoyed the show, make sure you check out LeClaire in the archives, Ken Reggett's in the archives, Dan Quinn's in the archives. They all been on the Flyers. Everybody, make sure you hit subscribe, whatever you're listening on. And have a great night, everybody. Thank you again, Brian.
Thank you.